Tripods are a really useful creative tool, whether you want to take photographs or videos that you wouldn't be able to take otherwise, for instance, long exposure images, or you just want to get the highest quality image possible by having your camera on a stable platform. They can, however, be really heavy and cumbersome, and as a result, you're probably not going to take them with you when you go somewhere. And travel tripods are there to fill that gap, and that is what this video is going to be focusing on. I've got 3 tripods here that I want to talk you through, as well as one I've already reviewed that I'm going to just use as a reference point, alongside 3 miniature tripods that you have no excuse not to take with you on your next excursion. So let's get into things and run through some really interesting options for you if you don't want to break the bank. I've set a budget of around £120 max for these. You don't want to carry around anything too heavy. All of these tripods weigh less than 2 kilograms, and you want something that'll actually fit in your luggage or not take up all your bag space when you're out and about. So let's get into it. Let's start off with the category I love, tabletop tripods. They're the ones I'm most likely to have with me because they're incredibly useful, but they don't take up too much space, they're not too heavy, but they can still aid the creative process. First off, we have here the Manfrotto Pixi Evo. This is a lovely little tripod based around a nice center ball head. It has a number of adjustments. It's up to 20 centimeters in height, and it only weighs around 250 grams. That is a great number here. You can extend each of the legs. They have 3 different segments to give you a nice, fairly tall platform to work from. This is great if you're on uneven ground, for instance. The ball head has a nice adjustment on the side of it that you can make it nice and tight, and it'll take a payload of up to 2.5 kilograms. Now this only costs just over £40, £42 to be precise, so it's a good value, and the adjustment doesn't stop there. You can also make the legs ultra flat to give you the most stable surface possible. If you're going to do that, I recommend that you actually fold the legs inwards in order to give you the most stable platform it can. The Evo is a lovely little tripod, and I really like using it. It's also great as a selfie stick if you want to shoot some video whilst holding the camera on it. It does work really well. I'd say this is perfect for both mirrorless and DSLRs, and that 2.5 kilos maximum payload is probably a little pessimistic because, as you can see, that's certainly more than 2.5 kilos, and it does handle it fine. I've had a Z6 and 7200 on here with no problems whatsoever. I love that little tripod. Next up, we have something I've actually reviewed on this channel before, linked to the full review above, but this is the Gitzo Mini Traveller Tripod. This is in a slightly different class to all of the other tripods because this costs a rather eye-watering £180, or even RRPs at 230 at some points. However, it's really cool. It's a carbon fiber tabletop tripod. It has a minimum height of 12.5 centimeters and a maximum height of 17.5 centimeters. It's got a very nice solid ball head attached to it. It's carbon fiber metal construction. And if you take the ball head off, it'll support up to 25 kilograms. That's the legs, which is absolutely insane. With the ball head, it's a slightly more realistic 3 kilograms. I've had everything on this, and it's the one I carry with me most of the time because it weighs 265 grams. It is small and light. Again, you can use it as a selfie stick if you want, but the main thing is it's just super, super solid. You can have this minor adjustment here to give you a slightly more stable surface, but honestly, this does not move. It is one of the most stable tripods I own. It's also one of the smallest, but it's super useful and I really, really like it. So this is the Joby Podzilla, specifically the large variant. They also do it in a medium and a small, and this is the largest of the tabletop tripods that I'm going to be showing off today. This retails for £42. At the moment, you can get it for closer to 37, and it is really cool. So first off, this is sort of GorillaPod-esque in terms of having completely flexible legs. So you can pretty much set this up how you want. You can get it to grip on objects as well. Really great if you want to, for instance, attach it to a branch or a beam on the ceiling that allow you to get really creative shots without having to faff about with clamps and mounts, etc. Out of all of these, it differs in that it actually has a little mini quick release plate. Super useful if you're going to be taking your camera on and off it. And it also has a really nice spirit level on it as well, just to help you to see whether your camera is level or not. Quite handy when you don't actually have straight legs. Now in theory, the maximum height of this is around 30 centimeters, give or take, but as these are flexible legs, it's going to depend on how you flex them about. It has the exact same ball head as the Pixi Evo, which is no bad thing, except that you don't get that additional width adjustment because you don't need it, because if you want this to be near as flat to the ground, you can absolutely do that by flexing the legs. Maximum payload on this is 2.5 kilograms, same as the Pixi Evo. Again, you can get away with more, though because of the flexible legs, you probably don't want to do much more because it won't necessarily be as stable. However, nice and easy rotation here to lock the tripod in place, or the ball head in place, and it is super handy. It's one of those things that you don't think is going to be useful, and then you carry it with you and you end up using it a lot, and I've definitely found that is the case with this. I really like it for video work especially. I think that's one of the things Joby excels at, actually. Some of their video accessories are absolutely mint, and I've actually reviewed their audio equipment, such as their wireless transmitters. Links to that above if you want to give that a watch, because that's really interesting too. So these are tabletop tripods. They are by no means the creative powerhouse that a full tripod is, but the most useful tripod is the one you have with you. I hate to say it, but it is true. And in this case, both the Evo by Manfrotto and the Joby Podzilla are both under, well, or around £40, which makes them very affordable. Yes, the Gitzo is a bit extravagant. However, these three tripods are super useful. But now let's jump into the full size tripods and have a chat about those, because that's where things get even more interesting. So, travel tripods, compact travel tripods. You will note that the first one is not a compact travel tripod. It is the Manfrotto 055 CX Pro 4, link to a full review of that above. But this is what I thought I could turn into a travel tripod. The logic was good. This only weighs 2.2 kilograms. It is fully carbon fiber. It is a fit up to 54 centimeters minimum height when you take the ball head off it, which obviously is removable here. But the realistic truth is that although this is an incredibly capable tripod, up to 170 centimeters without extending the center column, you know, you've got the 4 leg sections, it is super stable. You have a really nice center column that you can also move horizontally, so you can get down to 8 centimeters above the ground. Because obviously these legs can be fully bent outwards as well. The realistic truth is that this is too big and too heavy. Even in normal sized hold luggage, this barely fits in a suitcase, even with the ball head off, and it's just too big and too cumbersome. You do not end up carrying this around unless you're a professional photographer and you need it. If you don't, the chances are you will not carry this with you. So, despite this being a wonderful tripod that I already own, and it was part of my way of justifying buying one. At the time it was £400. Now its actual RRP is £600, but you can get it for £300 currently. It's a great, great tripod, but it is just too big, too heavy, and to be honest with you, too expensive. So let's get on to what I think are more compact options that you might actually want to use. This is the K&F Concept M1. It costs around £120, that you can get it for 110. It has a maximum height of 170 centimeters, which is incredibly useful, and a minimum height of 50 centimeters. Now, it does weigh 1.79 kilograms, almost 1.8, so it isn't the lightest here, but it's just about light enough that I'd consider carrying it with me. Now, I did initially think, oh God, you know what, this is a bit tall, maybe a bit too tall. However, after a little bit of work, you can actually remove, just about, believe it or not, the ball head on this. And if you do that, you end up with something a lot easier to put in your hold luggage, and suddenly, in my opinion, this becomes a better option. Let's talk about the highlights of this tripod. First off, you have fully adjustable legs. You have 3 adjustment points. And these probably go the most vertical out of all of them, which is nice. I like that. It's a good feature to have. You have a very large center column, which can help you achieve that full 170 centimeters. And you have 5 leg sections. So you have 4 extendable parts plus the center parts already in there. So these legs are of the largest variety that we have here today. Now, the tripod is super sturdy, which I think is where that extra weight goes. It'll take up to 15 kilograms with the ball head, so really nice high capacity. And as I mentioned, it is super stable. There's not much movement on this, which is why I think you have that really high capacity. It has some pretty good controls overall. I do like them. I like the fact that you have an included spirit level on the top. That's good. You also have engraved degree numbers on the side, so you can work out exactly how much you're moving the head around if you're, for instance, taking a panorama. I do like that. There is some good design elements here. The one thing I don't like about these is the feet. The feet are this sort of weird foot design that slides in and out. If you aren't on solid ground, for instance, stone or tarmac, etc., I found that these will fold inwards on themselves and make the tripod unstable. Bit of a shame. I don't like the design. On carpet, it does it all the time. It's really annoying. This is probably for a trip where you're really committed to taking photos. Perhaps you do need the extra height, but you're paying for that extra height and weight with weight. So the high capacity, you're really paying with the extra weight of this. And I'm not sure I'd carry it with me every time. I do like the design. I think it's really neat. I like the fact it will happily sit there. There's no folding to put it away. But I'm not going to choose that tripod if I go out and about because it is just too big and it is just too heavy. I think there's definitely a person that would use that for a lot of their work. And I think also that is a really nice balance between a travel tripod and a day-to-day tripod. You can use that as your main tripod and you'll be fine. So that's something to think about. But the thing is, I do have other tripods. I've got the CX Pro 4 you just saw. I've also got an 055 X Pro 3, another Manfrotto, plus a whole load of 055s actually. I've built up somewhat of a collection of them. So for me, K&F Concept tripod here, it genuinely is very good. At 120 pounds, it's incredibly stable. It's just not for me. Next up, we have another Manfrotto product. This is the Manfrotto Element MII, or MII, or M2, I'm not sure. Element MII, let's go with that. Anyhow, this retails at £135, which is a little bit more expensive. However, currently you can get it from most retailers for 110, and if you're happy to go for red paintwork rather than this rather lovely grey silver finish, you can get it for 89 off the Manfrotto website, so deals to be had here. I really like the specs on this. 1.55 kilograms. It is significantly lighter than this K&F one, so you're already starting to notice the lighter tripod. It has a minimum height of 42.5 centimeters, maximum height of 160 centimeters, 10 centimeters less than the K&F Concept. But it has a payload of 8 kilograms, which is still more than enough for pretty much any lens and camera combination you're likely to realistically bring on holiday with you. Now, unlike the K&F Concept, this does have a bit of a mechanism to use it. So you need to unfold the legs. They simply fold back on themselves. And then you have a locking position. Now, again, unlike, I think, both of these tripods, these legs only have 2 positions. So you have the first one where you just fold these really simple switches out and it locks in place. That is position 1. And then position 2 is a little bit wider, but not as wide as either the K&F or the Vanguard Vesta that we're going to be looking at in a moment. But it is overall a really nice design. I love how easy it is to move the legs around and how easy it is to set these switches for the legs, so your 2 angles that you have. It's really nice. Now, on top you have a ball head. All of these come with integrated ball heads, which, as you noticed when it was folded up, didn't get in the way of the legs, which is really good. The ball head again has the degrees written on the bottom rotation. Then you have 2 spirit levels, 1 on the side and 1 on the top, which is fantastic. Now you have 4-part legs on these, so you have 1 part that's fixed and then 2 that you can extend. I do want to point out that unlike the K&F, which had really nice easy switches, these do have spinning locks on them, which is fine. You need to get used to them, but they are pretty quick to do. And it's really quick. You can go from having locked all 3 of them to unlocking all 3 with 1 hand. So when you're at least putting it away, or sorry, when you're at least taking it out, it's really easy to do and to use. I like the fact you have a rubber grip on here. It's not something that's featured on either of the other 2 tripods. It's a nice touch that you'll also see on their professional tripods, so it's good that Manfrotto's done that. Despite the fact it has a rather, I'm going to call it odd design of the actual top connectors. It's almost angled. If I lock everything in place, it is super sturdy, and even when you try and spin it against its will, it stays rock solid locked in place. Really nice to see at this weight class, because that's not the case of the Vanguard. Spoilers for later. But overall, it does feel good. Now, I do have a criticism on this as well, where I didn't like the feet on this one. The feet on the Manfrotto are absolutely fine. I dislike, though, for some reason Manfrotto went with this plastic mounting plate. It's an odd choice to me. The rest of this feels so solid. I just don't quite understand why we had to have a plastic one. I'm not sure that an extra 20 or 30 grams would have made that much of a difference to the total weight of this, but that is how they chose to go. Overall, though, it does feel super solid and it's really nice to use. I like the fact that there's nice rubber on all of the adjustment points on the ball head as well, so it's quick and easy to make adjustments, and even the center column is nice and easy and quick to adjust as well. You also find on the bottom a little clip which you can use to hang your camera bag from. That's really useful if you just want to give the camera and the tripod a little extra stability, for instance, in high winds. And again, if you want to put this away, it's just a case of folding the legs down, folding across all three adjustment points. Then you want to extend the center column. You just loosen this so we can get it into the ideal position. Okay, where are we? And there we are, nice and secure. So it is simple and fast to put that together, especially if you do it a few more times than I did. Last but not least, we have the Vanguard Vesta TB 235AB. Really rolls off the tongue, that one. This is a £100 tripod from Vanguard. It is the smallest and lightest of the three. It weighs 1.2 kilograms, so it's super portable, nice and light. It is also a great minimum height of 37.5 centimeters on it and a maximum height of 143 centimeters. So almost 20 centimeters less than the Manfrotto and 30 centimeters less than the K&F Concept. However, because you do have that lighter tripod, you are able to take this truly anywhere and put it in most backpacks. It's probably the easiest option to carry around with you. Now, the design of this is a bit different to both the K&F and the Element. So first off, it's a 5-section design as per the K&F. Again, it has the twisting locks, so you have 1 fixed and then 4 that you can extend. The center column, however, is where things get a little bit different. You actually have a double extending center column. So first off, you can undo the first section, which gives you a certain bit of extra height. And then you can actually unlock the second section, which gives you the final section of height. It's quite nice. I like the design. It isn't quite stable, however, as both the K&F and the Manfrotto, as I've already alluded to. And my issue here is that these joints at the top seem to be quite small, and even with minor force, I can actually get the assembly at the top of this to bend. And as a result, I know it only has a 4.5 kilo maximum payload, but to me, that's the kind of movement I'm gonna get when I'm, in heavy winds, or it's just sort of an uneven surface. I'm not 100% sure I want to trust this. And it's a shame because I really like the tripod. So I don't necessarily think that this is a tripod not to recommend to you. I think all three of them have their uses, and I like the fact that this is super compact and super light. But I think it's important to remember you are making that trade-off. This is a lighter design. It isn't as sturdy as the other two, and in some circumstances when it's fully extended, you will notice a fair bit more flex on this than you will the others. Now, that's not to say that you won't get good photographs, but I wouldn't want to put a super heavy payload on this in high winds because I'm just not 100% sure it will give me a very stable platform to work from. You also don't have a hook on the bottom here, so you can't necessarily easily hang bags off it, but it does do what it says on the tin. The ball head on it as well is okay. It's a bit smaller again than the other two. Large adjustment knobs. I do have a like that you have a nice aluminium plate on the top rather than plastic, but this is certainly a specific tripod for a specific user. As with the K&F Concept, you have 3 leg positions on this. You have the standard first position, you have a wider second position, and you have a completely flat third position. Obviously, due to this double extending center column, you can actually get closer to the ground than on the K&F Concept and the Manfrotto Element MII, so that's something to bear in mind depending on your type of photography. The point here that I'm trying to get at is that for £100 or so, you can get an incredibly capable tripod. There are many options on sites such as Amazon that are significantly cheaper than these tripods. However, I would really question whether you want to trust potentially £1,000 worth of equipment on top of them. These three tripods, I think, are a nice balance depending on what you want. If you don't mind taking something slightly heavier that will still fit in your bag, the K&F Concept is a good choice. Then if you want something nice and light that's as small as possible, I would trust the Vanguard just about if I didn't have a super heavy setup. But for me, the winner is the Manfrotto Element MII. I think at the end of the day, this is a nice balance between tripod size, payload weight, and design that I'll actually take with me because it's not too big and it's not too heavy. So I hope you found this useful. Don't forget some individual reviews of these tripods I've already mentioned. Equally, I'm probably going to be doing a deep dive on this and maybe some of the others over the coming weeks. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss those. If you have any questions about these tripods or tripods in general, pop them in the comments section. Always happy to help as much as I can. And equally, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up as it always helps me out. Thank you very much for watching and I hope to see you again next time. Goodbye.